Welcome to another video on value proposition, and in this short video we'll address two questions: who uses it and where it is used, and of course why. It's a part of value proposition chapter. Key question is who uses value proposition? Well, it is primarily designed with customers in mind for customers, okay? So that's the kind of relevant and valuable marketing material you would put on your websites and other key places for customers to read and understand what value they're getting from buying products or services from you. So this is the total promise that customers get. However, the whole organization should understand and live it. So all parts of organization, accountant, finance, and the rest should really understand what the total value is that customers are getting and should help support delivery and implementation of it. Value proposition would also commonly be a part of the larger business strategy or marketing strategy, or can be a document in its own right, if you like. So mainly it is designed for customers, but the whole organization should live that value proposition. Right, so now let's address the question: value proposition, where is it used? That's a big and important question. Well, value proposition in general should be presented as the first thing the visitors see on your homepage, on your website. It should also be visible in all major entry points of your website. It's not the kind of marketing material you use in advertising simply because it's too long. Value proposition, remember, is the total promise you give to the customers, explaining why should they buy a particular product or service. Value proposition is really important thing. And actually, one of the researchers looked at the biggest reasons businesses struggle in today's market, and he found is that they had weak value propositions. And also the point is that the worst thing is that many of the products or services these people sell have extremely high value to corporate accounts, but the failure to articulate it in words, also in customer language that appeal to decision makers, is the downfall. Instead, they limp along trying to drive sales but unable to get even into the door. The less known a company is, the better value proposition is needed. Why? Well, simply because research is very clear that brand awareness is prerequisite for shopping. So that researcher I mentioned, when he reviewed a bunch of websites, around 50 different websites, the conclusion was that missing or poor value proposition was one of the most common shortcomings and by far the most common problem. And he says, listen, people don't care about you and their attention span is shorter than a goldfish's memory. So if they can't get some crucial answers from your site right away, they will leave. When a visitor comes to your site, they need an answer and they need them quick. The first thing they read needs to provide answers to questions like, what is this site? What can I do here? How is it useful for me? So your value proposition needs to answer this question: why should I buy from you and not the competition? It is a very valuable idea to compare yourself with the competition before customers do. Do you have competition? Of course, there are competitors. There are always competitors. And your customers very well aware of it. They use Google and other search engines to find this information. Before buying anything, people will likely check at least a few different options. Hence, you need to compare yourself openly to your main competitor offers and state how you are better or different than them. The researcher goes on explaining that people are lazy. When comparing options, they usually look at the most obvious things like price and key features. So, for example, when choosing a web host, they look at the server space and monthly fee, and that's it. You, as an expert in the field, know how many other things should be considered, and perhaps your advantages are less noticeable at first to people. When it's you doing the comparison, you can point out things you feel are the biggest advantages over the alternatives. So if some of the spaces, but for example, if your product is more expensive than others, then it's your chance to explain why and why should they pay a higher price. If some of these specs are lower than the competitors, point out that maybe your support is better, or you provide personal consulting, or it's more green, or whatever is the reason. So value proposition should be number one thing that determines whether people will bother reading more about your product or service or hit the back button. It's also the main thing you need to test. If you get it right, it would be a huge boost. So make sure to present your value proposition as the first thing that visitors see on your website, and also make sure it's visible in all major entry points of the site, so customers don't need to go back and forth and search for it. So make sure it's visible. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you found it useful, the explanation in terms of who uses it and where it's being used. If you like the content, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks again.